Okay, hello everyone. Hi everyone, welcome. So glad that you're here. Excellent. See some familiar faces and some familiar names coming in. Feel free to turn on your video camera. Hi, Joan Bird. We've been emailing. Hi. I get to put an email and a face to the email, I should say. Excellent. And Corrine, welcome. Beautiful. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here to learn about ecovillages in Costa Rica, to learn about Ecovillage Tours and the various retreats and adventures we have planned for the beginning of 2026. We were just chatting before you all came in. It's September here, the end of September, and the summer has flown by, and now it's autumn coming and soon winter. So we really feel like now is the time to start thinking about those winter travel plans. And definitely Costa Rica is an amazing place to go in the colder months here for many of us in the Northern Hemisphere. Oh, there's Jill. Hi, Jill. Good to see you again. I saw you earlier this week. Awesome. Great. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Cynthia, and I'm the founder of Ecovillage Tours. I'm going to be one of the hosts for today's online session. And I'm joined today by my good friend and colleague, Jason Thomas, who is our lead Costa Rica tour guide.
Hello. Thanks for coming to the call.
And we also have with us Rebecca Bush. She is our community chief connection coordinator at Ecovillage Tours, really helping people connect with the trip that's right for them.
Hi, y'all. It's great to be here. It's wonderful to see everyone.
Yeah, great. Well, we're going to get started with a presentation we have prepared for you, and then we're going to leave a lot of time at the end to answer your questions. So I would love if you could use the chat to type in any comments or questions as they come up, and at the end, we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. I'd also love if you could use the chat to put in a little message about yourself and what brings you here today, what you're really hoping to learn. And that way, Jason and I can tailor our presentation towards meeting your needs. Okay, so find the chat box now and just put in a note about yourself and what brings you here today. And while you're doing that, I'm going to queue up my slideshow presentation. Okay. There we go. Excellent. Okay. Very good. So once again, for the folks that are coming in late, welcome to the presentation about ecovillages and intentional communities in Costa Rica. And we actually have a photo behind this text of one of the communities that we visit on the trip. I'm so amazed at the gardens and greenhouses and domes there in Costa Rica. It's just unlike anything. It's hard to believe that this is actually a real place and not just a fake image. Great. And Jill has sent a message. Older woman on Cape Cod now exploring other living options. Awesome. Great. So still, if you feel like putting in a message, I'd love to get more of a sense for who's in the room. Yeah, and I think while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and introduce myself a bit more for those of you who don't know me. So once again, my name is Cynthia. I am the founder of Ecovillage Tours, and I really come to this work with a love and a passion and a life that's centered around community. I did not grow up in an intentional community, but found them pretty early on, like when I was still a kid, which is amazing. I feel like I made it through high school and college and like did all that rigmarole, but didn't always quite fit with my peers. I had much different interests in environmentalism and the land, and was really interested in deeper connections with others. So when I found intentional community, it really felt like a coming home, a homecoming, if you will. And that feeling led me around the world to visit communities in many different places, different cultures, different kinds of communities. And to date, I visited around 200 communities globally. And I feel so grateful I got to do all that travel. And I also feel grateful for this network I've gotten to build of connections with people in different parts of the world, people who are living an alternative way, a different way, a way that is one step removed from all of the craziness that we see around us and in the news. And I know sometimes for myself, it can feel really overwhelming, the loneliness, the environmental degradation, etc., etc. So just to find places where people are truly living their values and doing that in co-creation with others is such an amazing thing. And I know it's not always easy to get to, especially if you're not living in community now, how to make that leap, how to make the transition, how to go visit these places and see it for yourself. And that was the beginning of Ecovillage Tours. I started Ecovillage Tours because I wanted to make it easier for people to find and experience intentional communities. Ecovillages, yes, but also this broader movement of people exploring community living and regeneration. I also live myself in a community. I live here in Vermont in a sweet eco village. These are some photos actually of the community where I live. And Ecovillage Tours began in 2019. So right before COVID, not the best timing, but we took a few years to build and then we launched our tours. I think in 2021, we started offering some of the early ones. And we've now offered 13 trips in 7 countries. We've hosted over 100 participants working with over 100 different intentional communities and including 12 local guides. Actually, Jason here was one of the first people that we started working with when we first started offering trips in Costa Rica, and now we've done 4 successful trips, which is just amazing, amazing. So Jason's really been here kind of from the beginning and has been instrumental in helping to grow the company and especially develop our offerings in Costa Rica. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jason to introduce himself next and share more about some of the other work he does in addition to leading Ecovillage Tours. Yeah, Jason, go ahead. Looks like you'll just.
Hi, guys. Um, and welcome, Marvin from Costa Rica. Thanks for being on the call. Um, yes, my name's Jason. I've been in Costa Rica 16 years. I love it here so much. I guess my intentional community journey started in early 2000s when I was living on the road and I started visiting different permaculture farms and intentional communities as a volunteer and spent several years doing that. And during that time, I also drove adventure travel tours to national parks and stuff. And I was also living in Hawaii during that time. Some of the communities, I know we have a tour there now, and the community scene was really rich there then. And it just really embedded in me this value I was getting in living in a place where people really were connecting and they were really doing things together and they were really talking and having meals together and you know it was and not just within each bubble but regionally there's this like there's this camaraderie in the community scene. It's so cool and it's so beautiful. People that just genuinely want to connect. And so, yeah, I just really saw that as being a valuable, I guess, something I wanted in my life. And so I kind of tuned to that. And after a few years in Minnesota doing some things, I met a woman who didn't want to live there anymore and wanted to raise her kids somewhere else. And we bought a school bus And my first Ecovillage tour began. We started driving south looking for a new place to live. This was 2008 when we left Minnesota. And we spent 3 months traveling through Latin America, Mexico, all kinds of different countries, looking at different, following the breadcrumbs, you know. The internet was less developed back then. And after a few months, we got to Costa Rica. And when we got to this country, it was just so clear what a different place this was as compared to many of the other countries we'd traveled through. And it was so clear. It was like, this is a place we'd want to raise our kids and make business. And so yeah, we went ahead and spent another 3 months traveling around the country, visiting a bunch of different eco-village projects that we could find, and communities and retreat centers. And um, we were making some of the classic mistakes a lot of community seekers make, and um, having our wish list be a little more feature rich than relationship rich, and just some other things it would take more long to describe, but we ended up buying our own farm in the end after not deciding, which I wish we would have just taken our time and really stayed at some of these places that we were on the fence with and give them a better chance. And but we bought our own farm and we started our own community and hosted hundreds of people and had a permaculture education program and ended up writing our community living agreements and our shareholding member agreements, and like really started taking it sincerely. And I loved that. I loved being in that environment. And you know, life changed. Went to the States for a few years to take care of my son and some needs of his. And then when I came back and I was just regenerating the farm, the story had changed. My our family had gone separate ways. My ex-wife was wanted to stay in the States, and so after a couple of years of trying to fix it up and get it ready to bring community in, we had a difference of opinion about that. And the end was that I left. And it was a very humbling time for me and also a very empowering time for me because it took me from the place of being like this pretty much sole, you know, devoted person to this project and gave me the wings to be able to spread and network and start my podcast and visit all these other great communal projects and permaculture projects around the country and really get to understand the nuances. And so, yeah, when Cynthia contacted me to do these tours with her in January, I was already in touch with a bunch of founders to bring together a mastermind type program and event. And so, yeah, it was perfect alignment. And the founders I was talking to were on board. And Cynthia and I dove into the trips and discovered and invented it as we went. And I just really applaud the account of how many trips have gone so far since then in just the last year and a half, really, and how many people we've brought out to the world to see these different types of life. So I'm just real grateful for how my life path has brought me to Cynthia and this work and the people that I get to open doors to. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, right back at you. I really feel like this is like a growing movement and there's so much more energy and interest. And I just hope it continues because it's really what the world needs right now. I wonder if you want to talk about Regeneration Nation and your podcast and your writing. Do you want to mention that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Well, my brand Regeneration Nation Costa Rica is focused on promoting and networking regenerative projects in the country, be they land-based, which is what I started with, but then getting into some consultants and other regional focused projects, social permaculture is making its way into the podcast. And it went on pause about a year ago, but I am happy to announce that I'm about to revive the podcast with the presentations that I have been recording from the Ecovillage Tours. So those are in edit process right now. And the day is going to come where I'm going to start releasing some of these presentations we've been gathering on the tours. So definitely check out Regeneration Nation podcast. And I have some new blogs on my website. One I wrote last year called Seeking Utopia, Nine Mistakes or Nine Assumptions People Make About Community Living and Insights to Heal Them. And it's really the most popular piece of content on my website. I invite anyone interested in this call to check it out. And since then, I just released the third of a 7-part blog that is also going to be an ebook called The Community Seeker's Handbook. So I highly encourage you to check out my website, check out my blog, check out my podcast, sign up to my newsletter so you can know when the next ones come out. And that's my work. Other than that, yeah, I'm also begun consulting with community founders to help them build their invisible infrastructure, and that's really a long time dream come true. That's finally making it into my work. Mhm.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Jason. Okay, let's speak now about what is happening in Costa Rica at the beginning of 2026. Oh my goodness, we have so many tours planned. We have one for each month of January, February, March, and April. So we're actually offering 4 trips. These are all going to be multi-day trips ranging from 9 to 11 days. And we're offering so many trips because there's so many communities in Costa Rica. Around 30 or so community projects just in this small country. And I'm going to share next a little bit more about what you can expect in coming on an Ecovillage tour trip. So, firstly, who is this for? I really do want to make sure that, you're in the right place. This is something that you think you could see yourself doing. So our trips are designed for people who are curious about intentional communities. Not necessarily that they are themselves community experts or even, at this stage convinced that this is a lifestyle they want. We get a lot of people who comes on our trips who are just at that early stage of exploration and want to see what's out there. We get a lot of people who want to have a values aligned vacation, a way of traveling that isn't just staying at hotels, but staying with local people, supporting local initiatives. We do get some people who are looking to find or even start a community. We've had several of our participants who've gone on to move to Costa Rica to join communities there or to start projects there. And that's awesome. And obviously, they're coming into that endeavor then with a lot more support and a network behind them, having come on an Ecovillage tour. We also get a lot of people who feel kind of overwhelmed by all of the different intentional community options out there, who are wanting a way to see a few places and get their questions answered by people who live there, by founders, by residents, as well as who maybe want a network of support to take that next step forward. And that's why with an Ecovillage tour, we're really offering the only experience that I'm aware of. I'm not aware of any other companies that are doing this work of offering a travel experience that is bringing you to intentional communities, communities where we have relationships that we've built over time. So it's not like on your own, you're kind of like guessing, is this place a good one for me to visit? Is it safe? Like we have deep relationships with all of these communities, so it's a quite vetted experience actually, as well as having the guidance of someone like Jason leading the trip, again, helping to shape your experience, helping to showcase what's possible and ensure that your questions are answered so you feel more confident if this is something that you end up wanting to do. Our trips are all inclusive. I get a lot of emails about this, like, what does the price include? And we're going to talk more about pricing later. But I want to let you know up front that what we're offering is all inclusive meals, transportation, lodging, so you can relax during the trip and focus more on the experience. You can think of it as like a learning plus vacation kind of experience. And then lastly, I really want to highlight the connection with community, not only the communities that are visited on the trips, but also the community that's formed among participants. And that's huge. I think people often underestimate that aspect of it. And it's kind of funny, like people are like, well, I came on this trip because I wanted to see all these communities. But what I'm really leaving with is a feeling of community that was created among the participants. And these are some photos of our past participants from the past 4 trips. all people who still stay in touch. Many of them have come back and done other trips with us. It's just so cool. Like we have these alumni calls, and they're very heartwarming to feel the wide network of people and the intimate network of people who are on this life path. All right. So let's talk about Costa Rica a little bit more, because it's a very special country. And as I do more research and spend more time there, I begin to learn more and more how special it is. And I think for many of us, I'm an American, I live in the United States. I myself have doubts sometime about how much longer I want to be here. It can be challenging to live in a country where you don't always see your values represented in the decisions that are made. And that's what's cool about a country like Costa Rica, where a lot of expats are moving to because of the values that are present there. So I'm going to run through this list and yeah, Jason, feel free to add and clarify anything. Um, I think that one of the most notable things about Costa Rica are the large number of intentional communities with really some of the most innovative eco architecture, food systems, just ecological design coupled with communities that are looking for new members and who are able to grow and expand. So that's really amazing, just the selection of communities in the country. 92% renewable energy. Like that's amazing. That's not just like a community, that's the nation of Costa Rica itself utilizing local renewable energy, a lot of it from hydroelectric power. And, it's funny, sometimes we visit communities and everyone's like, well, are you off grid? Are you self-sufficient with your energy? And they're like, hey, yeah, we're maybe working towards that, but plugging into the grid itself isn't that bad. So it's really cool to have that value expressed as a whole country. And no army, which is I didn't realize that when I first started traveling to Costa Rica. But the nation has abolished their standing army, and instead of putting all that money into the military, instead investing in social services and investing in programs that can welcome more people to come and live there. Yeah, and the welcoming culture. I wonder, Jason, do you want to share more about like the culture there and what you found when you first moved?
Yeah, the first thing that jumped in my head when you asked that question is anyone who's maybe bilingual, multilingual might relate, but I feel like I have two different personalities. I have the personality of the guy who grew up in Detroit and lived many years refining that personality. And then I'm also, then when I speak Spanish, I'm this other person. There's something different about me, the way I feel when I speak. And I recognize that because I learned Spanish here in this culture, the manner in which I speak and therefore think is altered. Especially when, well, I mean, really, I can say that through and through the entirety of my character. But when I speak in Spanish, I embody the an essence that I admire of this culture, of the people I've heard speak that I wanted to relate to them. And I've really found so much of the culture here to have tempered me into a kinder person.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. There's also the nature of being in the tropics and the warmer climate. And one thing that I was speaking to somebody who moved to Costa Rica recently, and they were talking about the climate there and how, sometimes we think, ooh, tropics too hot, but then you have so much elevation in Costa Rica. You can go up and have more of the breeze and cooler temperatures in the mountains. And then the last point here, relatively easy to stay long term. And I guess they have been recently changing some of the laws to make it even easier for foreigners to come and stay in the country as long-term visitors, as residents. So that's really nice as well. Okay. So that was kind of an introduction to Costa Rica, some of the benefits of the country. And now let's look at the communities. And the best way we have found to do this part of the presentation is by actually going to the web page on our website. So I'm just going to stop my screen share and I'm going to hop over to a different page. So this is at ecovillagetours.com / Costa-Rica. And yeah, we're going to share about more specifically the tours coming up. As I mentioned, 4 unique trips, visiting different communities, different itineraries for each trip. And yeah, and I'm gonna invite Jason to help kind of walk us through these journeys that we've been, especially Jason and also some of our other team members have like really been meticulously designing and figuring out all the logistics. And I know how much work goes into that. So I think anyone coming on these trips can feel really lucky that you have figured out all the logistics so they don't have to.
Yeah, it's it's quite the art project, considering all the different meals and chefs and accommodations and hosts and activities and nature spots and everything. It's wow, yeah, and I love it. The art project that we've assembled this year for us to live out next year, maybe with some of you. Um, I'll just kind of go through the 4 trips real quick. We got January here, and all but our April tour, we start in Alajuela, which is the airport, the SJO airport near San Jose. However, the April one will be in a different airport in Liberia. So you get settled in. We have a little orientation before dinner, we sleep, and then we hit the road the next day. And the first stop will be St. Michael Permaculture Country Club. You can learn that about that on my podcast, episode 5. Really cool place. They got so many games. Like it's a fun place to go to if family. I think this whole trip is actually going to be attractive to anybody who's got family that not because of the games in the community center, but also the school scene in San Mateo. But yeah, St. Michael's is great. Justin's great, a passionate planter and person who cares for the earth. It's a very established program. There's not a lot of super tight, formal community cohesion. It's more the organic type that comes with people living near each other a lot. But there's a lot of care and passion and pride and in the communal areas that bring people together, including their disc golf course. So if you come, bring your discs. Um, then, yeah, we'll get a little beach time before heading up to San Mateo, where we're gonna stay in one spot for like I think 6 nights. We're gonna journey to Alegria Village, which is yeah, it's on its way to being built out. It's mostly sold. They still have some lots left, and many of the older owners are still building, but there's a very rich population there of owners, and the work they do in the regional area is admirable. Gorgeous place. Next door, we've got Taco Tal, which is actually one of the original places in the area. It's more of kind of your artists, musicians, rustic place. And my buddy Human is going to be our host, and we'll actually stay late that night and do some music by the fire, which is going to be nice. He's a musician, amazing songwriter. Lake Ovia the next day is probably the most established, maybe of any of the communities we visit. I might correct that, but it's one of, and they're pretty well populated, lot going on, great infrastructure, a lot to learn there
Yeah.
from. our host, who also will is founding the Ecovilla San Mateo project, which is the newer development, which is much bigger and a lot more possibilities and the way they've got it all structured. And then we're going to finish our time there with a bioregional panel discussion where we're going to hear from people in the region, the within those communities as well as outside of those communities that are working to bring regional resilience, cultural bridging, just creating an eco village in the entire valley of eco villages. I actually was just told of another development that's happening in the area. So it's a hot spot. And that is our January tour. After that, we're going to wrap it up and head back and send everybody home.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think this January trip is so nice because it's a 9-day trip, so it's on the shorter side and it's fairly well concentrated, so there's not a lot of long drives compared to
Mhm.
some of the other trips. And yet visiting a diversity of communities, including La Ecovilla, which as Jason said, is probably the most established community in the country. So if you really want to like walk down the village road and like feel the houses and the kids running around and like that village vibe of an established community, you'll definitely feel that there at La Ecovilla. Great.
And then in February, we're going to come down to my neck of the woods, the Southern Pacific Zone. We will start off by visiting Resonance, which is a little higher up on the coast, actually quite near Permaculture Country Club up in near Jaco. And then just kind of break up the drive and see what they're doing at Resonance. Really cool project. Whoa, sorry, did not mute my phone. Pardon me. Um, Resonance. So yes, we will. Resonance is a really sovereignty based and resilience based community. They also work a lot with plant medicine and have are networked with retreat centers all over the country. Very cool, unique, passionate project by the beach there. And then we're going to, from there, head to Rise, which is in the mountains, quite near me actually, as the bird flies. And Rise is a newer community. They've got some members living there, but one of the unique features at Rise, like at La Ecovilla, is that they have a school. And it's a very lovely, lovely school program. It's a Waldorf, I don't know if it's Waldorf certified or Waldorf inspired, but I forget right now. But yes, Rise is enlightening, and they've developed a lot this year. Their new kind of communal gathering center is built. They've got a retreat center called Kinkata, which is great. So yeah, that's one of our stops on that tour. And then we're going to drop down into the Osa Peninsula, where this is all about regional resilience. This is all about regional community. And we're going to meet with my friend Trisha Stapleton, who has this place called Los Igarones. It's a community hub, and she works a lot with the indigenous tribes of the area, the people that've been there forever. There are plenty of foreigners who contribute, but the farmers market there, the types of events there, it's very, very, very much local based energy. And so we're going to have a panel discussion down there to hear about what they're doing in the region. And we're also going to visit her place, which she doesn't call it a community, but there are many elements to the way she hosts people there, and for long periods of time. Many times, co-creators at Los Igarones will also stay with her, and so it's kind of like the land-based center for the community center, and some of the members will stay half the week at one and half the week at the other. So we'll get to see the land-based extension of that community center, and then also we'll hear from my friend Taikon, who has another project a little deeper in the peninsula called La Paz. We won't visit it, but we'll hear from him. So it's going to be, and we're going to go play at the beach, and we're going to have play to go through the gorgeous forests and everything. So the Osa is one of the single most biodiverse areas of the world. 2.5% of the global biodiversity is represented on that peninsula. So it's a really precious opportunity. Many people who've come on the tours before ask, are we going to go to the Osa? Do you ever go to the Osa? And so we are now. Then we'll come back up to the Diamante Valley where we'll finish the tour. We'll stay at Florestral for I think 5 nights. And Florestral will be our first stop, and that is a fairly well established community. Some friends of mine been here long as I have. They are from Israel, and they have a just gorgeous, gorgeous. One of the pictures we showed, the group pictures we showed, was in front of this amazing blue dome with all this artistic style and flow, and that's their sound temple. And they also have a fire temple where they do ceremonies, and yeah, so they have some residents and been doing it a while, and they just bought another section of land to expand, so there'll be lots to learn at Florestral. And it is just such a sanctuary. It's really a forest. And so when you're staying in the cabins there, you're going to be in nature. And note to those that are very attached to air conditioning, there is no air conditioning at Florestral. So just know that up front. They have fans. It's not entirely uncomfortable for most people, but if you are very attached to air conditioning, this might not be the trip for you. But if you love being surrounded by nature and just it being in everything in the living space, it's a very gorgeously well built place that you'll feel comfortable. Then from there, we're going to go to Fuente Verde, which is a little neighborhood where we'll visit two projects 2 days in a row. One of them is Mozen, and the other one is Ecomaste. We'll be seeing their Fuente Semilla is the greenhouse project that they collaborate with other neighbors. That's also an education center, youth program center, very inspiring, very integral. You're going to love both our hosts, and the panel discussion will happen at Ecomaste. So after our visit there. And that's where we'll learn about the regional work that people are doing in the Diamante Valley. And this is all very important for community seekers and community livers to learn what can be done outside of your bubble to really make the impact that an eco-village deserves to make in the world. And that's why I bring these bioregional conversations to the tours. Um, we're going to have the opportunity to go up to the Diamante Cave on this trip, which is just one of my personal, a very, very traveled person, favorite places I've been on the planet. Um, like really tops the list. It's precious. We're not able to sleep in the cave anymore like we were last year. This year we stayed in their kind of their base camp midway to the cave, but we hiked to the cave, spent the day there, up in the waterfalls and the rivers and the sun and the views and the rainbows and the God country. And then we come down to sleep a little lower elevation with an expansive view, tenting. So again, this isn't for the AFC people on this trip. We'll be tenting that night. Although if you don't want to come on the tour, you can stay at Florestral as an option. Then because it's a rigorous hike, it is also people, this is the great tour for people that really want to get some good hiking in and get in nature. We're going to do that in Yosa. We're going to do that in the valley. Holos will end the tour. Gorgeous place. Ian Michael's a highly integral human being that I've really come to appreciate. And it's a slow going project, but it's really starting to get traction. They've got their retreat center, they've got their community center, they're growing food and distributing it to the people in the community as well as the regional community, which they're very much about reciprocation with the people in the community, supporting the locals and the indigenous. So Holos will, and they have glamping tents we'll be staying in, and I think most of them, if not all of them, have air conditioning. So we'll cap off the tour that way anyhow. And that's the February tour.
Beautiful. Yes. Great job explaining. I was there with you in the Diamante Cave with the views and the rainbows and all of that. Yeah. And I think so. So one thing to mention for everyone. So the February trip is the longer trip. It's 11 days, but this is like deep exploration into community and nature in one of the most biodiverse regions in the entire planet. So truly a special trip and like a deeper dive into all of it. Great. So that's February.
And there was a question about the hike to the cave.
Sure.
I forget exactly. I think it's a mile and a half of like
Yeah.
really steep, where you're kind of like earth steps type of steep for a mile plus. And then we chill at the base camp, and then the other mile or so is a bit more of a meander. It's not as strenuous, but the first part is definitely not for people with weak knees or that just really can't climb a large building's worth of stairs.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say we take it slow. No one gets left
Definitely,
behind. We
definitely,
carry backpacks if we need to and help each other.
absolutely, absolutely. Definitely okay for people on the edge, but if you honestly think you'll have challenge, you might. Um, and I've seen a lot of really valiant people do the trip that you might not have expected. Um, so we're getting to March, and this is where we get to go to the Caribbean, another region that I've been wanting to go. People have asked if we go, and this year we get to go to the Caribbean. And for me, that really comes down to our first stop on the tour, which is Seed Eco Village, a really wonderful project that has been headed up by a woman named Rachel and her team, and they work very closely with the indigenous Bribri of the region. They're just a really they're one of these really special communities that when you talk to them about their community, they'll never talk about the team of co-owners. They only refer to their community in the sense of the community they moved into. So, yes, the seed does. This will require a bit of a hike. This is also a tour that's got a good bit of hiking in it. It's not as strenuous as the Diamante Cave by any measure, but there's a bit of a walk to get to Seed from where we can be let out of the car, kind of wade across a little shallow river. They got walking sticks and stuff. We'll make sure you get across. It's not going to wash you away, but that's how that trip starts in the Caribbean. And then after a day at Seed, we're going to go to Iridia, and Iridia is a new community that I just learned about in Punta Uva. And they are a neighborhood that was started by a group of friends who were just like a big group of friends, like, I don't know, I think like 20 people that were like, we're going to buy land together and we're not going to do all the like rules and all of that stuff. We're going to just have our like low commitment community. They made a really basic document, and they built houses and have a neighborhood, and they have a homeschooling group and other people that hang out. And so it's again one of these organic communities. Now, one of the unique things about Iridia and our host Yvette that'll be hosting us, is that she and some others are actually um, organizing to start a new community nearby called Symbiosis. And so Iridia is a really great example of, and you'll hear from Yvette, this like lived experience of being in the like sovereignty based, low commitment, low uh, agreements type of community, and what's missing for her in that. And we'll hear from some others that, and then also what that's leading them to build now, and what elements that's bringing them in and wanting them to bring into their new model. So I think that's going to be a very educational morning for us. That afternoon is when we get our Caribbean bioregional panel discussion. A really phenomenal human being. Well, all of our panel hosts, by the way, for all of these are just high quality, highly connected movers and shakers in the regenerative scene. Jose Paulo is Tico, and he Costa Rican, and he's in the middle of so many really great regional resilience projects there, and he's going to bring many of them together to share what they're doing too. And a lot of these too there's a lot of like, and this is everywhere. You'll see it in the Diamante Valley too. There's a lot of really small community projects that are like a person or two who bought something and they really only want to have an extra couple of families live with them. They're not trying to do something big and have a big website, but and it's like that in the Caribbean too. Like you're going to hear about little projects that have been there a long time, just doing like small, humble, not presumptive big scale community, but just people living together taking care of each other. So we'll learn more about that while we're there. And then And we'll also get some quality Caribbean beach time, promise. But then we're gonna hit up the mountain, and this is you're gonna want to bring a long shirt for this one because we're gonna go from the coast all the way up to Cartago, and we're gonna visit Finca La Flor and Sol y Valle. And Finca La Flor has been there like 30 years. Bree, when you see the story of her life, what a valiant woman. She has done so much for that region and bringing people together and creating, like when the you go to all these places and you see the people working, and generally they're Costa Ricans, and sometimes you don't notice it because it's so normative for them to just be in the background. But when we came to Finca La Flor, man, these every staff member just had every essence as if this was their home and they were happy to have us there. There was no separation between like them and the owner. They were just this was their home and they were hosting us, and that says a lot about the culture at Finca La Flor. And they are in expansion phase, so we're going to hear all about their new community model that they're presenting. Um, Nearby, adjacent, actually used to be part of Finca La Flor. Before creating this new model, Bree sold a couple sections of the land to neighbors, and one of them is Finca La or Soli Valle, and it's a small project. Really, there's just four members. It's only owned by one, but he's got a very active accounting sweat equity program for the essentially Costa Ricans that have been helping him run this place. It's a education center. The regenerative foods growing, really introducing people to um, just the sacred nature of working with the land and sincerely developing community and yeah, just really sincere, beautiful people building, hand built, low budget, very, very much working together, supporting each other, working together community that I think many of last this year, many people absolutely adored those guys. Um, then we'll go to Verde Energia, which has been one of my favorite projects in the country since I moved here. Uh, they're a permaculture education center and community. They've got a very different shareholding model where not all the members are intending to live there. There's just a lot of people who buy shares and they're part of the project. And so they have like kind of honorary shares. But then if you want to build, that's a whole nother agreement. The shareholding is like supporting the work that they're doing with reforestation and regenerative resource management and lifting up. There's another one of those places where they say our community, they only talk about the one that they moved into, not the one that they built. So yeah, they're just, and we're going to be there a couple nights. We're going to go see their agricultural. They're producing permaculture, agricultural food forests, and learn about their value-added product thing, the Rewild Organics, where they're taking locally grown products and selling them around the world, turmeric and etc. Verde Energia, Josh is just amazing person, big nature lovers visit there. And then we move down the road to Rancho Mastatal, about an hour and some away. Uh, Again, it looks a lot shorter on the map. But we'll ramble through the mountains and get to another one of my favorite communities since I've lived here, Rancho Mastatal. They're a natural. They also do permaculture education center, but they're also very well known for their natural building. All six team members are like they just work for the education center. They all live, work, do everything together, uh, share resources, finances, make all those decisions together. They have tons of documentation. They're just really a tight knit team that is providing education in the community that they moved into, and resources and learning from, and like wow, the outreach, the no, no, the mutual aid that Rancho Mastatal engages in is more than admirable.
Mm.
And that, with everybody buzzing from the gorgeousness of all their natural building architecture and everything else, and how much we love each other so much, we will have our closing circle and head back to Alajuela to finish the March tour.
Oh my, yes. Thank you, Jason. I'm just so impressed by your, detailed knowledge of all of these communities. And he's just, I mean, he could talk for hours about just one of these places. So I appreciate you and condensing it and just giving us a little taste. And I know it is a lot of information because there's so many places, but at the same time, I'm just letting it like all come in and just feel so glad, I guess, that there are so many beautiful places and amazing people that are doing this work. It's awesome, awesome that it's happening. So, yeah, thank you for sharing about the March trip. And then last but not least, we'll go to April.
I'm close to the end of the call, try to burn through this. So, as I mentioned, we fly into the Liberia airport, and this
Yeah.
on our drive time because we're going to be hugging the Guanacaste area on this tour. And we'll start by heading down to Eterna, which is Stephen Brooks's new project near Nosara. If you don't know who Steven is, he's one of the founding members of La Ecovilla, Alegria, Taco Tal, Punta Mona, and Envision Festival. He's an amazing networker and permaculturist and enthusiast for all of this wonderful stuff. So we're going to visit Eterna, which is also a community with a lot of intention to be integrated. We will then go to Tierra Amor, who we visited last year. Very beautiful place. Also, kind of a retreat. It's kind of right now, like I think they focus on some community events and a lot of personal retreats, but they have a very expansive community model. The community model there is kind of the idea of having several different types of community model type. So it's gonna have little different neighborhoods depending on the lifestyle that you're looking for. Um, After that, oh, and then we have a bioregional panel discussion for what's going on in the Nosara area that will happen at Eterna. And yeah, we're going to learn about Nosara, a place that has been heavily devastated by tourism in the last and yet, amidst all of the degenerative extraction and everything else that's honestly happening up there, there are people that are really bringing it together and bringing the people together and creating for the kinds of laws we need. We will move from Nosara down to Santa Teresa in the south end of the peninsula, and we will be staying a few nights at the Ark, where when we visited last year with Cynthia, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Even to feed us, they had like a tarp with some cookers, and then they made like another tarp with some like balanced benches and tables, and fed us the most exquisite feast of the whole tour. It was amazing. And we're going to be visiting 2 years later, and they've been busy. So I'm very excited. Uh, Marat, the founder, is very much about reciprocity and the people he bought the land from, and awesome model to learn from there. I have not been to yet. They're neighbors of the Ark. From what I've gathered, it's just a bunch of laid back, chill people that are doing their own thing, living family life, and um, open for new members. So I don't really know a ton about Bay of Flor, to be honest. And the grounded conversations I've had with those that I've talked to so far. And after leaving Santa Teresa, we will have the climax of the tour, Brave Earth, which really honestly is uh, one of my other very most favorite places that we visit on the tour and many others. It is gorgeous. They take their community building very sincerely. Um, they're not advertising for new members. They've got a core team. They got a lot of land. This is the kind of place, like some of these others, that if you fell in love with it and felt super aligned that you needed to be a member, there's long-term relationship building ways to be part of it. But that's kind of where this community's at. It hasn't been around very long. I think maybe 5 years or so, maybe six, but in development. But they're they're just really dedicated, and they got a team. The mutual aid with the region is also, you can look up a project called Fuerza de Amor that is highly inspiring. And we're going to get a talk about their community, and we're going to get another talk about the work they're doing with Fuerza de Amor while we're there. And yes, so that will be another tour. Pretty much I got all the tours planned to have you buzzing at the end. But we will then carry you off to Liberia with hugs and the beginning of a long-term relationship over ongoing and follow-up calls. And so, yeah, that is our April trip.
Amazing. Oh, so good. So, yes, the Liberia airport. Jason, that's an international airport.
Correct.
Yeah, so you can fly, a lot of people fly into the SJO airport, typically coming to Costa Rica, but you can also fly into Liberia or get a connecting flight if you're elsewhere in the region. So all of other trips start at the SJO airport except for our last April trip. And all of these communities that we've been sharing about, we have, as I've been showing you, a little description, some photos. We have the location. We have if they're accepting members or not, the land acreage, and the website. So whether or not you end up coming on one of these trips, I really encourage you to go to this webpage. We've put a lot of time into creating it and use it as a research tool to learn more about what's
Mhm.
out there. And you will have noticed that actually most of the communities we're visiting are accepting new members. So that's pretty cool as well. All right, so that's April and March and February. I will mention for our January trip, that is also a trip that you can add on an event at the beginning. So I'm going to switch over my screen share, going back to the other presentation that we have because Jason and I are also hosting a short retreat. It's just 4 days. And that's going to be right before the January trip that starts on January 17th. So this retreat is January 10th through the 13th. And the intention is to have a retreat where we're not moving around so much. We're staying in place. We're deepening into community with the participants and really helping those of you who are looking to actually step into community. It's called the Step into Community Retreat because we want to prepare you for what that means, for what it means to live into community, what it means to go and do a search process and figure out where you fit and how to present yourself and how to feel confident and have the clarity to really step into this life. So I actually just came back from hosting another Step into Community retreat. We had one here in Vermont where I live just this past weekend. It was amazing, people from all around the country. And I think just the depth of connection. It's only 4 days, but you go deep. I think all of the people joining were at some point of life transition or about to make a transition in their lives. And so coming to this was time out of the normal. It was time away to focus on themselves and focus on their next steps. So in addition to learning a lot from myself and Jason, where you have all kinds of activities planned for you. We're also hoping this can be a retreat. Time for you to be in a beautiful place. We've booked a Pura Vida retreat and spa. It's about a half an hour up up in the mountains above San Jose, so really accessible. When you come on the retreat, we'll actually just pick you up at the airport and bring you to the center, and then everything's covered from there. So it's really easy. And hopefully it's a place that you can relax and reset and reconnect also with community and what that means. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. And that's something that would be easy to add on if you wanted to do then the January trip afterwards. Okay, so I know that was a lot. We're just gonna wrap up here with a few logistical, practical things because we always get those questions. So I want to make sure that we're really clear and explicit. So for each of the tours that we're offering, they're all inclusive. You visit about 68 communities per trip, including some of those panel discussions that Jason was sharing about. Quality time with the founders and residents. Each trip isn't just visiting communities, you're also seeing the region. You're going on nature excursions, you're getting some education, usually some workshops when you visit a community. And hopefully, you're building community along with the fellow tour participants. And as well, hopefully, get some clarity about your next steps on your journey after a trip. We have an early bird sale happening now. So right now we have early bird pricing on all of our Costa Rica tours, and that's going to end on October 1st. So if you have your calendar right now, circle October 1st. That's a really important date. I don't want you to miss this. If you are thinking of coming on one of our trips, definitely do it before October 1st because that's when you're going to get the lowest pricing. You're going to save about $700. Um, at our early bird rate, most of our trips are around $300 a day. So that's probably about what you would spend anyways if you were doing a trip like this on your own with all the vehicle rentals and accommodations and meals. And so, we, I think, price it quite affordably for what you get. And we also, in addition, have some work trade scholarship opportunities if that's something that you're wanting as well. So don't miss the early bird, 2 weeks away. And all you need to do is place a deposit. The $500 deposit is refundable until 60 days prior to departure. And then we have a payment plan from there. So it's not like you need to pay for it all at once. You can break it up over the coming months. And we're able to customize that however you want. Okay, so that was the practical stuff. I also want to bring in Rebecca now, who has very generously been available to get on the phone with anyone who is thinking that they might be interested in one of these trips, but you have more questions, you're not sure which one's right for you. Rebecca is a wonderful member of our team and past tour participant, and she is available to chat. So, Rebecca, you want to share more about that?
Yes, hello everyone. My name's Rebecca. I'm the Chief Connection Coordinator at Ecovillage Tours. But before I started working with the company, I was actually a tour participant myself. I was on the Costa Rica tour led by Jason. It was fabulous. Cynthia was there too. We had a great time. So I can speak from experience. The Costa Rica trip is amazing, super inspiring, so informative. You'll meet friends for life and just it's awesome whether you're looking to join a community or just learn and like kind of see what's out there in the world. And it's just fun to be on vacation in Costa Rica, let's be real. But if you have any questions, I really wanted to make myself available to everyone, especially provided the fact that we do have that early bird pricing deadline on October 1st. So I just dropped my link to my discovery call page. I have availability this weekend as well as next weekend. So I know a lot of people are busy during the weekdays. So feel free to book a time. I can answer any questions that you have about the trips. It's just a quick $500 deposit to reserve your spot. And then you can do installment payments moving forward. We can talk about the details and see which tour is the right fit for you. I have talked to people who are doing they're ready to do all four. Even folks who are doing the retreat and then bundling with the January trip, since they're basically like one right after the other. So give me a call. I'll help you out. We'll help make sure that you get on the right trip so that you can see, kind of what's out there in Costa Rica. And also, if the weekend's not a good time for you, that's our phone number for Ecovillage Tours, 734-245-8745. Also, feel free to email me, and I'm going to drop my email here in the comments. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And I can also speak from firsthand experience. It was a very transformative experience for me, and I hope all of you get to experience the Costa Rica Ecovillage Tour as well.
Aw.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for being available to help folks.
I just want to
Okay.
throw in there when she says transformative, it's not a buzzword. really, like I watched the transformation. I watched Cliff at the Diamante Cave. And at the moment she was about to do it, after hiking up there with me, she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm really afraid of heights." I said, "What?" So this is just one of the many, many stories of watching people go through really deep interpersonal transformations as they learn how to commune with others and be an open more as themselves through the course of our time together.
Mm, beautiful. Wonderful. Oh, thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. We have come to the end of our presentation portion. So now we have a little bit of time left. If there are any burning questions right now, anything you're really still unclear about, we'll have time for just a few questions if there are any. Anyone have a question they want to put in the chat, or maybe there already are some?
Yeah.
Jill, you were signed up for our retreat already.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you've done it with the same schedule, but what would any suggestions about what somebody would want to do for the 3 or 4 days in between the first experience and the second?
Yeah, yeah, great.
Answer that. Well, for one, it's not 3 or 4 days, it's like two. And
Oh,
and it's, I mean, really it'll come down to 1.5 with travel. And honestly, you don't need to know now. Once you're there and you have that time, the retreat, the 4-day retreat's going to be transformative for you. By the end of the retreat, you're going to have me to ask 10,000 questions to, or at least maybe 1,000. And I can tell you all kinds of things to do with that extra day.
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's so the retreat
Okay.
is in San Jose, just above. So the shuttle
Mhm.
will take you back to the airport, and from there you can probably just stay in San Jose. That might be the easiest.
Mhm.
That's where the
Mhm.
second tour would start. But if you wanted to use that day and like do an excursion off, there's like you're right in a great transportation hub to be able to do that and go where you might want to go. Yeah. Yeah, we have I'll mention too in San Jose for the start of the January trip. We work with a Hotel Brillasol. That's where we start and finish all of those trips. So if you just wanted to book there, that might be the most convenient for you. And that's a wonderful place, and we have a great relationship with them. Hotel Brillasol. Yeah. Okay, Joan Bird.
Okay, I'm unmuted now.
You got it.
Um, so I am thinking about the February tour sounds really cool, and so does the January retreat. I'm wondering if you think how possible it might be to figure out something to do between those. I noticed that a number of the eco villages do take guests for longer periods of time. So I'm just thinking about making it a longer trip between those two. I'm wondering, does that sound like that's realistic?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right there, there's as far as like distance from the airport area where we'll be, or like for the retreat and where the tour will start, the San Mateo area where Alegria, La Ecovilla, Ecovillas, well, Ecovilla San Mateo doesn't probably have much to rent. Maybe not even Taco Tal, but there's a company called Machuca Homes, and they rent homes in the area. So that would just be one option real quick. Those are places we're visiting on the January tour. So if after the retreat you wanted to like go hang out at one of them, that would be just like without actually talking to you and really getting deep into what kind of experience you want, that would be a first point um,
Mhm.
for source of where to hang out. But yeah, beyond that, there's just so many uh, nuances between the different options of where you could stay. But the country's full of gorgeous, gorgeous places to kick back for a month.
Yeah.
You said you're going to visit this Machuca Homes in the retreat or in the first tour?
Machuca
During
Homes is
the
a company. It's a company in the Machuca Valley, in where we'll be staying for several days,
Uh-huh.
for in the January tour, and it's just a
January.
it's just a rental agency. agency for that region. So you could stay in that area and over the month maybe find out about an event here or there, or book a little visit with one of the sales reps or something of one of the communities. And um, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just put the link, Joan, to machucahomes.com. And it's pretty cool because right through the website, you can see what rentals are available and book a rental if you wanted to just have a home base for the month.
Hmm.
That would be a really great way to do that. And most of these homes are located in one of the intentional communities or in the surrounding area. So you would kind of be in proximity to the January tour communities if you wanted to do this option.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Uh, which of the communities has, a very spiritual underlining? Um, Kirtan and yoga and art and things like that. Can you specifically say?
You know, so many of them do to a variety. Some of it, I mean, if you, some of them are retreat centers and they have programs, you know, many of them. And others aren't retreat centers, but there's neighbors who have their, you know, every other week song circle, and maybe a few days a week somebody offers yoga in the community, or so there's different types of communities that offer that type of thing on different scales, but that would require a much more in-depth kind of conversation to have, which if you come on any of the tours I can get real detailed about the nuances of all that, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to specific.
Yeah, I think the short answer is a lot of them have a
Yeah.
strong spiritual component. And just different flavors, I would say, of the spirituality, depending on the focus of the community and the residents.
So which tour would you recommend for maybe accessing some of that? Anything in particular or not?
Okay. Well, are you thinking more on the lines of like places that have like a retreat center that are hosting lots of
I
events and
guess
stuff like that?
I perhaps, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I would say maybe, yeah, I mean the February tour has some places that do a lot of really sweet events on different scales. All the ones in the Diamante Valley and stuff, for instance. So that would be one. I would say,
You're frozen. I
yeah,
can't.
maybe the
Yeah.
Guanacaste tour in April would be the other one that is maybe a little bit more focused on those types of branded themed communities. So yeah,
Yeah.
February, April, if I was going to narrow it
February
down.
and April. Yeah, especially on the February trip, because you're going to see a lot more communities than the April trip, a bigger diversity. And some of I mean, Holos especially comes to mind as a
Mhm.
community that not only is hosting retreats, but is also practicing themselves as a community. It's hard to describe, the spiritual practices that can support a healthy community culture.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm.
How do you spell that? Holos? Which one?
HOLOS.
Holos.
And
So the
which
difference
tour?
between the two is that like the February tour, La Jolos is a retreat center, Florestal is a retreat center. That region and the like Osa Peninsula, and these are like kind of a bit more of the like roots type of rustic on the scale, but compared the Guanacaste trip in April, it'll be more of the like newer, bigger development type communities that, not to take anything away from the heart that they have behind them, but they're just they're approaching that on saying a commercial level, but they've brought that in like Holos have a large scale way. Whereas the places in February, most of them are a little smaller scale than the places we'll visit in Guanacaste in April. And that's a very loose delineation.
Yeah, okay.
And nuance, but yeah.
Excellent. Okay, very good. Well, we are past our time, but thank you so much again for listening and those great questions. If you have more questions we haven't gotten to, Rebecca is available to chat one-to-one and really get into much more detail. And just a reminder again about the October 1st deadline for the early bird pricing. So you do have 2 weeks to make your final decision and get in touch with us. At the end of the day, we just want to support you in stepping forward in your own personal journey towards a more regenerative future, more community connection. That's what we're here for. So, however we can help, we're happy to do so. Hope to be in touch with you more soon. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care. Thank you, Jason and Rebecca. All right, bye bye.
Muchísimas gracias. Adiós, pues.
Oh, yeah.
Adios, Kai.
Hasta la
Bye
vista.
bye.